Our teacher was a predator, so I taught him a lesson he'll never forget. It started small, things that at first didn't even register as wrong. Mr. Hawthorne was the kind of teacher everyone liked, or pretended to. Early 40s wore those too tight dress shirts that screamed midlife crisis. Always cracking jokes, always the cool one. But the girls in class, they didn't laugh. They smiled, tight, uncomfortable smiles, and kept their heads down. At first I thought maybe they were just shy. It's high school. Everyone's awkward. But then I started noticing more. The way he'd call only on the girls. The way he'd lean too close when he talked to them. How he always seemed to accidentally brush their arms when handing back papers. How every time he said their names, it came out too soft, too familiar. One afternoon, I saw him cornering Emily, this quiet freshman, by the lockers. She was clutching her books so tight her knuckles were white. Mr. Hawthorne was smiling, talking low, too low. She nodded. Not the way you nod when you're agreeing, the way you nod when you just want to get away. When he finally left, I asked her if she was okay. She flinched like I'd hit her. I'm fine, she said. Too fast. I'm fine. But she wasn't. None of them were. I started paying closer attention after that. Watching, listening. There were patterns. Girls getting called after class for extra help. Girls getting special assignments no one else knew about. Girls getting private tutoring in his classroom during lunch. Always the girls. Always alone. I tried talking to a few of them. They shut down fast. He's just strict. I don't want any trouble. I need good grades. Fear. That's what it was. And when I finally, stupidly, told a teacher, they smiled politely and told me Mr. Hawthorne was a valued member of the staff. When I pushed harder, the counselor said, sometimes students misinterpret friendliness. Misinterpret number. They were covering for him. I realized two things that day. One, no one was going to save those girls. And two, if someone was going to stop him, it had to be me. But not by reporting him, not by playing fair. Mr. Hawthorne was careful. A predator wrapped in a cardigan. If I wanted to end him, I had to be smarter, darker, worse. I started small. A recorder hidden in my hoodie pocket. Nothing fancy. Just enough to catch the way Mr. Hawthorne talked to girls when he thought no one was listening. I captured hours of audio. Come by after school. We can go over it. Alone. You have so much potential. Special girls like you need special attention. You don't need to tell anyone about our meetings. Some people wouldn't understand. Enough to make your skin crawl. But I didn't stop there. I went through yearbooks, past newsletters, looked at which students he singled out, who he mentored. The pattern went back years. Different faces, same story. Some of them had left the school. I found a few online through social media, old forums. I reached out carefully, not pushing, just offering an ear. Some ignored me, but a few responded. They told me stories. Stories worse than I imagined. Late night calls, inappropriate messages, threats when they tried to speak up. One girl, Amanda, said he told her, no one will believe you. They'll just think you're a liar who wanted attention. And he was right. When she told the administration, they labeled her emotional and quietly suggested she transfer schools, which she did. I built a file. Audio recordings, testimonies, photos of Mr. Hawthorne getting too close, touching shoulders, hands lingering too long. But I still needed more. Mr. Hawthorne wasn't just slick. He was beloved. A reputation like a bulletproof vest. If I was going to destroy him, I had to turn his own world against him. I started by playing the long game, befriending him, staying after class, asking for help, laughing at his dumb jokes. It made me sick, but it worked. He let his guard down around me, started treating me like one of his cronies, told me things he shouldn't, about parties the staff threw, where boundaries were different, where things happened and stayed quiet. He bragged about it, smirked like the king of a castle built on fear. And that's when I set the trap. Mr. Hawthorne loved technology, thought he was a genius because he used an iPad in class, so I gave him one. A second-hand iPad, jailbroken, loaded with hidden spyware, looked brand new. I accidentally left it in his classroom after a tutoring session. He found it, of course, and kept it. Everything he typed, every site he visited, every photo he took, I had it, including the private folder he created, labeled innocently enough, lesson plans. Inside were photos of students. Nothing outright criminal, but disgusting, inappropriate, creepy. Zoomed-in shots of girls bending over desks. Photos of girls eating lunch, laughing, unaware. A collection, evidence. Now I had him, but it still wasn't enough. Exposing him would ruin him, sure. But I didn't just want ruin, I wanted annihilation. Annihilation takes patience. I knew Mr. Hawthorne's weaknesses, ego and power, so I used them. First, I created an anonymous Instagram account, a fake student, complete with believable posts, followers, and inside jokes stolen from real students' profiles. I made it clear I was interested in him. I posted stories that baited him. Bored in class, wish someone would make things exciting. Some teachers are way cuter than they should be. It didn't take long. One night, his message popped up. Just a hey at first, innocent. Then, you're very mature for your age. I could help you with your grades if you keep this between us. Screenshotted, archived, filed, but I wasn't done. I sent similar bait to his personal email, this time from a fake parent account, pretending to be a mom of a student, thanking him for looking after her daughter. He responded, too eagerly, too casually. I always have a soft spot for special girls. Sometimes I take extra care outside of school hours. More screenshots. I compiled it all into a neat little package, a file so heavy it could break the internet if dropped, but a quiet leak wasn't enough. No, this needed a show, a finale. Prom was coming up. Mr. Hawthorne, of course, volunteered as a chaperone. He always did. A night full of loud music, bad punch, terrible dancing, and every student in one place. Perfect. I planted the iPad in his car the night before, slipped it under the seat where he kept his jacket. His spyware was already running. Then I waited. At prom, he prowled, watching the girls, lurking by the photo booth, complimenting dresses a little too much. While he was distracted, I activated the second part of my plan. Earlier that week, I'd hacked the school's projector system. Nothing fancy, just a basic remote override. I synced the iPad to the projector, and at exactly 9 p.m., right when the dance floor was packed, the screen lit up. Photos, his private collection. The room froze. First a few gasps, then full-blown screams. Mr. Hawthorne stood there, pale, frozen, staring at his own sickness displayed 30 feet tall. He tried to run. Security stopped him. I watched from the side, sipping punch as the principal stormed in. Phones were already out. Pictures, videos, proof. He was finished, but I wasn't. The school launched an internal investigation. Of course they tried to spin it, said it was a misunderstanding, so I leaked everything to the press. Local news, social media, anonymous tips, the whole file. Within 48 hours, his face was on every screen in the state. Predator teacher exposed, parents furious, victims speak out. The police opened a formal case. Old victims, girls who had stayed silent, started coming forward. It snowballed, arrests, charges, court dates, and while Mr. Hawthorne's life burned down around him, I made sure he knew exactly who lit the match. One final package, printed screenshots screenshots, copies of testimonies, a single photo of Marley, my dog, sitting happily at my side, and a note, "You picked the wrong class." Mr. Hawthorne didn't go down quietly. He tried to play the victim, claimed the photos were innocent, misinterpreted, said he was mentoring the girls. Nobody bought it, but watching him try, it was pathetic. Bail was set high, but not high enough. He scraped together money somehow. Family, friends, a few he hadn't discussed it yet. He got out for a while. I knew he'd be desperate. He had no job, no home, no allies. His reputation was radioactive, and desperate people make mistakes. I made sure of it. I slipped anonymous letters into his mailbox. Fake job offers. Prestigious ones. Universities, private schools, high salary, big titles. Each one was bait. Each one led to interviews that never existed, only carefully timed appointments where reporters just happened to be waiting. Photos of him skulking around school buildings in the dead of night flooded online. More fuel for the fire. He tried moving out of town. I made sure his future landlords got copies of his case file, concerned citizen tips. No one would rent to him. He tried switching his name. I paid for a background search service to keep tabs on every alias. No matter where he went, what name he tried to hide under, he couldn't escape it. But ruining his life wasn't enough. I wanted him to feel what his victims felt. Powerless, trapped, exposed. So I dug deeper. Found out he had one asset left. An old cabin upstate, left to him by his parents. His last safe place. It wasn't listed anywhere. Off the grid. Supposed to be private. I found it. It wasn't hard. Predators always think they're smarter than they are. I visited late at night. Left no trace. Just reminders. Photos of his victims. Pinned to trees. Nailed to the cabin door. A recording of his own voice. The disgusting things he used to whisper to girls. Playing on a loop from hidden speakers in the woods. Soft at first, then louder and louder. He called the cops. They found nothing. I moved the photos around each time. The voices too. He stayed up all night, terrified, jumping at shadows, sleeping with lights on. The fear he once planted in others, blooming back onto him. It wore him down. He stopped showing up to court. He stopped leaving the cabin. Neighbors said they saw him pacing the yard, muttering to himself. He looked thinner, grayer, like a man being eaten alive from the inside out, which he was, by the truth, by fear, by me. But fear alone wasn't enough. I wanted humiliation. Final, irreversible humiliation. So I planned the last act carefully. Mr. Hawthorne still had online accounts, old ones he hadn't deactivated, forgotten relics of his past life. I hacked into them quietly, carefully, pulled photos from his old vacations, his Teacher of the Year award pictures, even personal messages, all the fake kindness he used to lure students. I built a website, simple, brutal. Meet Mr. Hawthorne, a life of lies photos, evidence, testimonies, his entire false legacy, stripped bare and set on display. And then I sent the link to everyone, parents at the school, local news, his former employers, his family, every single one. It spread like wildfire. He couldn't leave his house without seeing people staring, whispering, filming, couldn't log onto the internet without being reminded of the monster he was. He tried to fight it, sent desperate cease and desist letters, threatened lawsuits, but there's no unringing a bell. There's no coming back from truth. The final nail was his pension. Somehow, he still qualified for a small one. Not much, but enough to survive. Until I found a clause buried deep in the education board's code. Pension benefits could be revoked for actions bringing disrepute to the institution. I gathered all the evidence again, packaged it neatly, submitted it to the board anonymously. It took 6 months, but when the ruling came down, it was beautiful. Pension revoked, permanent disbarment from teaching, all licenses pulled, name scrubbed from every award, every honor roll. He didn't just lose his present, he lost his past. The last time I saw him, he was sitting on the porch of his crumbling cabin, alone, pale, thin, a husk of the arrogant man who once thought he was untouchable. I didn't say anything. I just watched him for a while, let him feel it, the weight of every life he ruined pressing back on him. And then I turned and walked away. Because the truth is, monsters don't need cages, they need mirrors.